Women who are so particular and opinionated and spiky that you no longer can project.
Why is everyone still mad? I've already apologized. I've used the age excuse. I've said I'm just a girl.
They're uncomfortably too human in a theater kid-esque feeling type way.
Okay, what in the theater kid was that? We don't hate to see you win. That's kind of self-absorbed and narcissistic.
I think people would love Rachel if she'd stayed hot and unknowable.
I think you're gonna need more than just hope. I think you better pray. Listen, I'm not trying to absolve myself from the dumb things I've said online. They're still dumb, but I was just a baby.
I don't know, but I just have never expected action from her.
It started with whispers, and within 8 hours, it exploded into a cultural storm. Rachel's glares Evita, already in thin ice after walkouts, refundments, and accusations of performative apologies, is now facing something far more serious.
I think that in the future, when we reflect on what happened, it is going to come to be known as the girl bosses who flew too close to the sun, okay? People say that. This is an example of that. Girl boss, I'm a girl boss. I can do whatever I want. Men ain't bleep, men are terrible, whatever. We can do whatever we want in this era.
And what's worse, it's not just trolls or haters signing it, verified theater critics, and even fans of Ziegler herself are saying the same thing. This show crossed the line, and if you've ever seen Evita, it is a challenging part to play, and I don't think. She has the eudamerity, the stamina, you pick a word here, in order to pull it off going you. No, every single day that theater is open, the petition itself reads like a manifesto accusing the West End. Adaptation of erasing historic values pushing. Modern ideology into a sacred legacy and casting a lead. Who doesn't understand the role she's in? It's brutal, and yet it's resonating.
The narcissist is going to remain a one-person wrecking crew. Please protect yourself, as their rage and their manipulation can literally make you sick, both mentally and physically. And not calling them out is not enabling. A lot of people say, if I don't call them out, then I'm part of the problem. They're already enabled. And you calling them out in a strange way enables them more.
Social media is already calling this the most embarrassing flop in recent musical history, and not because of ticket sales alone. This goes deeper. Audiences are accusing the show of being a woker branding project, disguised as art you didn't modernize. Her story one TikTok rant says, "You buried it under ego and politics." And with every hour, the backlash keeps growing.
Literally no idea why he's covered in cake, frosting, goop, slime at the end of the show. What I do love, though, is everybody trying to figure out why it's happening and what the context is. And look, I haven't seen the show. I don't know why it's happening, but the theories are incredible. Some people saying the blue and white represents the Argentinian flag. That's yes, but why is it goopy? I don't know. If you are at the first preview of Evita or any of the Evita, if you know anything about Evita and why he's covered in stuff, let us know.
And just 10 days ago, this production was being positioned as Shagler's grand comeback, a chance to move past the Snow White chaos and show the world that she was still a star, but no, critics are using words like career killer.
There's a lot of discourse right now about how Jamie Lloyd's production of Evita, starring Rachel Zegler, looks a lot like his production of Sunset Boulevard. And people are like, oh, is he just doing the same thing again? I saw a video just now from the creator Matt Seiler, which I totally agree with, and I'll link it in the caption, where he's talking about how, it doesn't bother me when an artist's work looks like their other work. That's just called having an artistic voice. And I would take that even further and say that it's important to have some context about the style that Jamie Lloyd is working in. I would characterize Jamie Lloyd's work as following in the tradition of European Regie Theater. And if you don't know Regie Theater, it's a German word that originated in opera that literally means director's theater. So describing the practice of, directors having an immense amount of creative control over the production.
Fans are demanding apologies, and industry insiders are already whispering that the producers are in crisis mode. Watching Ask Their Million, Pound Gamble turns into a viral catastrophe, but this was only the beginning, because as the signatures keep climbing, a deeper controversy is now starting to rise from the shadows, and it's not just about theater anymore.
It's like I'm a very mentally ill piece of...
Oh boy. This might explain some of the comments she's been making lately.
The warning signs were there from day one. Opening night was supposed to be a celebration, red carpet, photos, standing ovations, rave reviews. But what actually happened? was chaos. Within the first 20 minutes of the show, something strange started to happen. Audience members began trickling out, a few at first, then more. By the end of the second act, entire rows were empty. Some attendees, reportedly, demanded refunds right there at the box office. Others took to TikTok and X, filming themselves storming out off the theater with captions like, "This is not Evita, this is a bad joke."
Rachel Zegler, her stock is through the roof after this movie.
I can't believe it. I very much had no interest in seeing Rachel Zegler in any movies heading into this. And watching this made me forget that I really don't like her as an actress.
All is forgiven with the Snow White controversy. Maybe I'm going to show up for it. I thought she was fantastic.
She was really funny.
The most viral clip, a young couple whispering, "Is this satire?" as Rochelle Zegler belted out one of Eva Perón's most iconic lines, rewritten allegedly to include updated feminist buzzwords that weren't in the original. That clip alone racked up over 6 million views in 24 hours, but it wasn't just the rewrites. Multiple reports claimed that the applause at the end wasn't even real.
Yeah! Go, Quinn.
A leaked memo allegedly from inside the production revealed that cast members were instructed to begin clapping on cue to avoid what producers feared might be an awkward silence. Then came the critic reviews, and they were merciless. One outlet described the show as a political lecture wrapped in glitter. Another wrote, "Zegler delivers her lines like she's still on a presser, not a stage." The energy in that heater community flipped fast. What was marketed as bold and brave now felt like a tone-deaf misfire.
Writers lean so hard into feminism that they circle back around to misogyny. I still don't follow. A character learning from their mistakes is the most compelling thing that they can do. So many writers are so hung up on writing a strong, capable woman that they don't let her make any mistakes to learn from. Because women always have to be perfect. Exactly. That's why we so rarely see girl boss characters being held accountable for their actions. Things get blamed on the people around them, society, emotional trauma, and they never take personal responsibility. I never thought of it that way. A lot of writers don't like showing the strong female character as flawed and in need of personal growth, and that's very unsatisfying to viewers and readers.
And the worst part, the creative team didn't seem to see it coming. According to an anonymous crew member, there were warnings during rehearsals, concerns that the tone of the show didn't align with the legacy of Eva Perón, but allegedly those concerns were ignored. There was too much writing on Zegler's imagery rehab. The source said the whole production was built around her. We couldn't change anything, even if it meant tanking the show. But while critics were ripping the show apart, something much bigger was brewing in the background, and within hours it would explode. It began as just another change post, a frustrated fan venting on Money about the state of theater, but by the next morning, it was front page news. Shut down the West End Evita revival, the headline read, and beneath it a detailed furious indictment of everything the show had become. The author of Petition, who identifies as a longtime Evita fan and Argentine native, didn't mince words. They accused the production of westernizing a revolutionary icon, of erasing cultural nuance, and of casting an actress who uses Eva's name to elevate her brand, not honor her legacy. It was harsh, but clearly something about it resonated, because the petition exploded. Thousands of signatures poured in by the hour, then tens of thousands by day. Too, it had crossed the 100,000 mark, and the comments were brutal. One signer wrote, "This isn't Evita, it's Instagram theater." Another said, "I grew up hearing my grandmother talk about Evita and she'd be disgusted by this." And perhaps the most damning, Rachel Zegler made this about herself, not about Argentina, not about history, just above her, so the hashtag #NotMe began trending across social media. Prominent theater bloggers, Ladings influencers, and even some Broadway veterans started weighing in. Some were polite, others not so much. This is the musical theater equivalent of rewriting Martin Luther King's story with TikTok slaying one. Critic posted, "It's not progressive, it's disrespectful." Ziegler's silence only fueled the outrage, no statements, no apology, no clarification, and that void was quickly filled by speculation. Thatch didn't care that she knew this would happen, or worse, that the controversy was part of the plan one theater. YouTubers said it best, they wanted headlines, wealthy got them, but this wasn't just about Rachel anymore, because voices from halfway across the world were now starting to speak up. And the anger, it wasn't just personal, it was cultural. Eva Perón wasn't just a role, she was, and still is, a symbol of pride, pain, and perseverance for millions across Latin America, especially in Argentina, where her memory carries the weight of a revolution. So when Rachel Zegler stepped onto that stage wrapped in modern glam and armed with rewritten lines, many saw it as more than just a creative decision. They saw it as Ladings critics from Buenos Aires to Los Angeles began to voice their concern. Articles surfaced accusing the show of flattening Eva's legacy into digestible, Western-friendly narrative. On TikTok, a young Argentinian woman went viral for breaking down in tears after seeing clips of the performance. "That's not her," she said. "That's not who we grew up honoring. This is cosplay." Even prominent academics joined the discursia. Cultural historian from Mexico City wrote a thread detailing how Western productions often erase the revolutionary complexity of Latin figures, turning them into digestibilarians for mass consumption. And Evita claimed it was the latest casualty in a growing trend of historical eraser disguised as empowerment. The backlash didn't stop with the critics. An online Latino theater coalition released a joint statement calling the production culturally irresponsible and demanding an apology. Some even hinted that the show could face protests if it continued. Pressure was mounting. What made it worse was how avoidable it all seemed, according to a now deleted Instagram comment from someone claiming to be a former consultant on the show. Producers allegedly ignored advice from Latin cultural advisors, choosing instead to go bold with Zegler at the helm. Bold, maybe, but now it's starting to look more like reckless. And while the culture offer storm kept building, another bombshell was quietly ticking backstage that would paint the entire production in an even darker light. Will every public drag the show? Online backstage whisperers were starting to hustle into the spotlight, and what they revealed made everything 10 times worse. It wasn't just the audience that felt something was off. People working inside Evita production allegedly knew things were unraveling before opening night even arrived, according to a series of anonymous leaks posted to Reddit and Twitter, amplified by theater gossip pages on Instagram and X. The rehearsal process had been a disaster for weeks. One user, claiming to be a wardrobe assistant, said it was chaos from day one. Nobody agreed, and the tone scripts were getting changed every night. Everyone walked on eggshells around Rachel. Another person, reportedly a chorus cast member, described the Vibi as tense and unstable, adding that Zegler had a wall of PR people around her at all times. They continued, "She was protected, untouchable if someone acknowledged a line or a scene, it was always brushed off as not supporting the new vision." But it didn't stop there. One of the most damning posts came from someone who claimed to be part of the production's tech crew. They alleged that multiple scenes were rewritten just days before the premiere to make them more modern and politically relevant, including the controversial line additions that sparked outrage on social media. When crew members pushed back, they were reportedly told to adapt or bear placed. And then there's the memo, a screenshot of what appears to be an internal email was leaked just hours after the petition hit 100,000 signatures. The message, allegedly sent by Simeon on the production team, referenced increasing concerns about Rachel's ability to embody the role with cultural sensitivity and discontent among senior creative staff. If real, it confirms that internal doubts were erased and ignored. This aligns with another widely circulated rumor that 2 creative consultants walked off the show weeks ago in protest over the rewrites and casting direction. Neither party has confirmed it publicly, but theater insiders say it's an open secret backstage with all this mounting pressure. The narrative has shifted from a risky artistic experiment to an alleged cover-up of a doomed production. What was once seen as a bold remaking off a classic is now being called a calculated PR move that blew up in everyone's face, but the most damning sign of all wasn't. Backstage, it was right there in plain view in the theater seats that no one bothered to fill even before the petition went viral. There were signs that the public had already made up its mind just 3 nights after opening photos started circulating, and they were brutal entire rows of seats sitting empty in Matini Performance with a barely half-filled audience. One viral photo taken from Thabelkani showed what looked like over 100 unsold seats, and the caption underneath read, "Evita, the Ghost Tour." It wasn't just about optics. Ticket sales had reportedly dropped sharply after the first wave of negative reviews, according to one ticketing site. Discount codes were suddenly pushed to email subscribers just 5 days into the show's run a move usually reserved for floundering productions trying to save face. One ex-user wrote, "I just bought third row tickets for less than that price of a coffee. That's how bad it is." But the backlash wasn't just about numbers. It was about reputation. Audience began posting brutally honest reviews, not just on theater blogs, but across Reddit, Instagram, and YouTube. And a common theme that the show felt more like a social media stunt than a serious production. One reviewer said, "I felt like I was watching someone rehearse aided talk in costume." Another added, "It's like they wanted to offend Virioni fans of the original Latin audiences and anyone who respects theater." The term self-parody started trending alongside Evita on TikTok. Memes mocked Ziegler's performances, stitching clips of her serious monologues with laugh tracks and sound effects. One post even dubbed her voiceover reality show meltdown with the caption, "I'm not dramatic, I'm Evita." That clip alone hit 9 million views. Meanwhile, Ziegler's silence was starting to speak louder than words, with no public response. Every day that passed suddenly made her look more disconnected from the chaos, or worse, indifferent. Twit fans began to feel betrayed. She stood there with pride while the legacy of Eva Perón was reduced to hashtags and soundbites. One user posted, "This wasn't empowerment, it was ego." By now, event defenders of Ziegler were backing away. What started as a controversial take on a classic had snowballed into something far uglier, and according to some sources, the damage may already be irreversible. The storm was still building because of next move might not come from fans or critics, but from Eva Perón's own people. Just when it seemed like the backlash couldn't go any further, echoing, new rumors started gaining traction, and this time it didn't come from TikTok trolls or angry theater kids. It came from people with power. Whispers began circulating that several Argentine cultural institutions, including one connected to Eva Perón's Bresford archives, were reportedly bring a public response, not a tweet, not a meme, a formal statement. One post from a Buenos Aires-based journalist claimed that representatives from the Fundi and Eva Perón had received dozens of outrage messages from Argentinians abroad, many of whom accused the show of disrespecting a national icon, according to the same report. Internal discussions are underway about whether to denounce it production as a misrepresentation, Eva's legacy, or worse, call for its closure. Altogether, if that happens, the damage could escalate beyond social media drama into full-blown international scandal. And it wouldn't be the first time Argentina has defended her memory in the past productions. Oath Evita have been altered, paused, or banned outright when cultural groups felt they crossed the line. The musical is not just a piece of entertainment. In many circles, it's a symbol of history, pride, and pain in portraying Eva, as a flashy, modern influencer figure, isn't just seen as lazy, it's seen as offensive. This might explain why sources close to the production claim security has quietly been increased. Backstage, a theater staffer told a gossip blog that Proudest may be planned outside future performances, especially as the viral petition approaches 150,000. Signatrists there worried it's going to get political fast, the source said. Meanwhile, cast morale is reportedly at an all-time low. Several background actors have allegedly stopped showing up to rehearsals. Crew members are begging now to be scheduled, and the energy inside a theater, one word. Toxic Ziggler herself has remained silent, but insiders say there's panic behind the scenes. Her team is allegedly weighing whether to pull her from the production entirely in aim for it to salvage her long-term reputation, but with the damage already done, many are wondering, is it too late, Becca's, this time? It's not just fans walking out, it's history itself, and it might not forgive. What began as a comeback has become a catastrophe. Rochelle Ziggler's Evita was supposed to be her redemption arc, a return to form after the Snow White disaster, a chance to show the world that she could command a stage and carry a legacy. Instead, it's become a cautionary tale about ego, about a verge, about what happens when you try to repackage cultural icons into trendy sound bites without understanding how they really were. The petition to shut down the show didn't appear out of nowhere. It was a response, a boiling point. And with over 100,000 signatures and counting, it's more than just a message, it's a movement, a demand that theater, especially theater based on real people with real legacies, be treated with care, not clout chasing. Ziggler's silence has only added fuel to the fire, leaving fans, critics, and insiders all asking the same thing. Why hasn't she said anything? Is it arrogant strategy? Is she simply waiting for it to blow over, hoping the outrage cycle moves on to someone else? But this one might not go away, because at the center of this isn't just a musical, it's a woman who inspired a nation and a performance that, in the eyes of many, turned her into a caricature. It's not just backlash, it's cultural grief, and for a production that was supposed to honor Eva Perón's memory, that may be the ultimate irony. Whether or not the show gets shut down remains to be seen. Whether Ziggler responds or steps down or pushes forward, no one knows, but one thing is clear, the story is far from over, and whatever happens next, it won't be quiet. If you want to stay updated on the fallout, the cast drama, and whether Evita survives this chaos, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because trust use this ride is only just beginning.